Hello, this is Tina from Earth and Bone Art Studio, and I wanted to do a quick video with you just to kind of go over some of the basic supplies that you should have or take the time to get your hands on to start taking part in the monthly art journal prompts that I will be sharing monthly. Do not get worried if you do not have some of the supplies that I am mentioning, and do not feel that you need to go run out to the store and quickly buy everything all at once, or spend a whole lot of money on just high quality, artist quality supplies. Use what you have, use what you can afford, and like I said, you can slowly start to build up from that over time. Once you get a better idea of what sort of art supplies you really like to work with. The art supplies that I will show you does not necessarily mean that you have to use the exact same things. It's just materials or mediums that I prefer working with, and every artist is different. Not every artist likes to work with acrylic or with liquid inks, that sort of thing. So it's up to you. This is supposed to be a learning process for you on finding your own creative voice and learning about or finding out for yourself what sort of art supplies or art materials or mediums that you enjoy working with the most. So to begin with our monthly journal prompts, you will need a journal, an art journal. So what I suggest you do is to get a book, get an old book. You can go to a thrift store, a garage sale, or even if you have an old book lying around the house, you could use that. You'll need a couple of them. One that is actually going to be your journal, and one that you're going to rip the pages out for collage. So make sure you're choosing books that you don't mind, repurposing, okay? So I just wanted to give an example of some of the books that I have on hand, the art journals. This is a store-bought blank journal I had bought years ago. It just has blank pages in it, and I was using it for some other purpose, and then over time, over the years, I started using it as my art journal, and this is actually the first art journal I started with. So well, actually, no, that's not true. I did start with some dollar store books and use those as an art journal, and then I gradually moved into this when I repurposed this from its original intended purpose. So as you can see here, the original pages were blank, and then I've just added some collage and started painting. And if you didn't already know, I am a mixed media artist, so I like to use all sorts of different mediums in my art journals, including fabrics and different kinds of papers. So just do a quick flip through here. Some of these, and this is one I'm currently working on right now that I have been sharing videos and photos of. So that is one example. Now here's another one. This again is just an old atlas book that I decided to use. It belonged to my husband's grandparents, actually. I didn't know that, so I just kind of grabbed it from the basement, not knowing that he wanted to keep it, but the damage had already been done, unfortunately. But thankfully, he did have other ones like this. But like I said, this is just an old atlas book. The spine is all falling apart, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I like my books to be kind of grungy. Papers sticking out from the collage. I don't bother cutting them down to the size of the book. You can, of course. This is just my own personal preference. So I haven't had this particular art journal for very long, so there's not that many, I haven't done much in it, but these are some of the ones I have done. And I'll explain to you about the collage and why I do collage on pages before I actually start doing art on. This is just a background. I've started playing around with color. And some pages I just decided to rip out, kind of thing, just to give papers different sizes in here so they're not all just the same size. So that's another one. And again, you can choose the book you choose to use as your art journal, whatever size that you can get your hands on and whatever size that you feel comfortable working. So this one's a little bit larger than the first one I had shown you. And then of course I have this smaller one. I tend to like using old dictionaries and stuff like that as well. just for the books to rip the pages out for collage. And again, I will explain more about that in another video. But this one, I just kind of wanted to give a quick run through of the different kinds of books you can use. And then of course, I myself hand make homemade art journals as well. So I've made the cover and all the pages that are in this particular art journal. So, but that's another thing. But for this and for our monthly prompts, just find a book that you feel comfortable working in, that you decide, you know what, this is going to be my art journal, and we'll take it from there. So that's something that's number one that you will need, is to select 2 books, one for your art journal and one that you don't mind ripping up for the collage. The other thing that you are going to need is some sort of liquid glue or adhesive. You could use a matte medium, whatever brand. I know a lot of artists who use the Liquitex. That can be a bit expensive. For art journaling, I don't use Liquitex. I use Mod Podge. I got this at Walmart and I'm perfectly fine with it. This one, unfortunately, is gloss because it's the only one that was in stock at my store. But I would have preferred a matte. But if you can get your hands on Mod Podge, that would be great. And again, preferably matte over gloss, unless you like things shiny. But I prefer, like I said, I think the matte base would be much better. So that you will need some sort of palette knife or an old credit card or old bank card, something to use just to smooth out creases and bubbles from when we start collaging. And that's what these 2 supplies or items are for. The other thing you will need is an inexpensive paintbrush. You don't have to, spend a lot of money. This is from the dollar store, and actually the majority of my paintbrushes, because I put them through quite a workout, are from the dollar store. So, and you can get a pack of 4 or 5 for like a buck or $2, depending on the dollar store you go to. So just get your hands on some paintbrushes. And the other thing that you will need is a black pencil. That could be a black pencil crayon if that's all you have. It could be a black crayon if that's all you have. This is a black charcoal pencil, so I have that. I also have black graphite. So anything that's black, it's good for outlining and everything, so you could use that. It's basically a drawing utensil, something to draw, sketch with. The other thing that you should consider getting your hands on is some paint or other sorts of supplies that you need, that you want to use for coloring your art project or in your art journal. Okay, so I use acrylic paint and a whole wide variety of other art supplies. You do not have to do that, and you do not have to start getting all that right away. Even if you see me using a wide variety of art supplies on any particular month in a journal prompt, does not mean that you have to do the same thing. So start picking some inexpensive, you can use some inexpensive paints that are out there. I do have a lot of them on hand. I just don't have them within reach, otherwise I'd show you. But you can go to Michael's, you can go, even the dollar store has bottles of inexpensive paint. So pick up some colors, just colors that you're drawn to. So paint is a good thing. Colored pencils is a good thing if you want to get your hands on. Inexpensive pastels. These are Crayola oil pastels. They are also water soluble, meaning that they react with water. So they go on pretty good. These are actually the first pastels I bought when I started. So they go on like that. And then I'm just gonna see if I can do this quickly for you. And then they just kind of go like that. And you can really work it in. This is the way I treat the brush. This is why I buy inexpensive. So that page is started because this is not prepared properly. But just for example, demonstration's sake. So like I said, you can get some pastels. There's inexpensive ones. This was here I got this at Walmart. I don't remember the brand these are. It just says oil pastel on it. So you can get yourself inexpensive ones, or you can go to Michael's with a coupon and get any other kind of pastels that you choose. Oil pastels, chalk pastels, whatever you're comfortable using, whatever you're drawn to using. So in any case, get something that you can use to color with, paint, all those things. The other thing you'll need, especially if you're going to be using paint, is a palette. Now I just used an Italian salad lid. So repurposing, right? I use what I have. When I originally started painting more and more, I was buying all the fancy artist palettes, and I imagined myself standing in front of my easel with my fancy palette, my expensive, looking like the artist. But you know what? This I use more than the actual, proper palette when I'm painting. So, and what I like about using plastic lids, not only does it repurpose and saves it from being thrown out, but the paint peels off beautifully, where it does not do that on my professional artist palette. But on this, it's a quick cleanup. The other thing you'll need is just to get yourself a jar just for water, just to hold your water in. So those are the supplies I could think of offhand that you will need. As we go along and you start seeing more of the supplies I need, you can make mental note of that, or just keep a little running list if a supply I'm using is of interest to you and you want to add that to your own, supply of art materials that you want to use. So that's pretty much it, I think, that I can share with you right now.